My father opened the black velvet box and stopped breathing like the room had forgotten how to move. The whole table went quiet. Forks paused above plates. My stepmother's smile held for 1 second too long. My stepbrother Kevin lowered his wine glass slowly. Inside the box was a small silver tie clip. Plain, old, scratched along one edge. Nothing expensive. Nothing impressive. But my father stared at it as if someone had placed a ghost in his hands. Then he looked around the table. His face had gone pale. Who sent this? No one answered. Not my stepmother. Not Kevin. Not my aunt. Not even me. Because I knew exactly what it was. And I knew why it had arrived. 2 hours earlier, I was sitting in my car outside my father's house with a wrapped gift on the passenger seat. The paper was dark blue. Not fancy. Just clean. I had tied the ribbon twice because the first bow looked uneven. That was the kind of daughter I had always been. Careful in ways no one noticed. My father was turning 72. Not old as he liked to say. Just old enough to complain about the stairs and still refuse help carrying groceries. His house sat on a quiet street in Ohio, in a neighborhood built for families who worked hard and stayed put. Split-level homes. Trim lawns. American flags. Garbage bins rolled in by 6. The front windows glowed warm against the early evening. Through the glass I could see movement. People laughing. Someone passing a serving dish. The party had already started. I checked the text from Denise, my stepmother. Dinner at 6, don't be late. Your dad likes things on time. I had arrived at 5:57. Still, when I walked up the porch steps, I had the strange feeling I was interrupting something already decided. I rang the bell. I used to walk straight in. After my mother died, that changed slowly. Not with a rule. With a pause. First I started knocking. Then I started waiting. Then I started feeling like a guest who remembered where the towels were. Denise opened the door. She wore a cream blouse and pearl earrings. Her hair was set in soft waves, the kind that looked effortless after 40 minutes. Rachel, she said. Not sweetheart. Not honey. Not even Rach, the name Dad used when he was proud of me. Just Rachel. Hi, Denise. She hugged me with one arm. Her other hand stayed on the door. Everyone's already at the table. I glanced at my watch. It's not 6 yet. Her smile tightened. Well, people were hungry. From the dining room, my father laughed. A full laugh. The kind I had not heard on the phone in months. I stepped inside and followed her down the hallway. The house smelled like pot roast buttered rolls and lemon furniture polish. Denise liked things polished. Tables. Stories. Public appearances. The dining room was bright with candles and birthday napkins. A cake sat on the sideboard. Chocolate from the bakery near the old post office. Dad's favorite. Everyone looked up when I entered. Aunt Linda. My cousin Paul and his wife. Denise's daughter Shelby. Kevin, Denise's son. And my father at the head of the table wearing a blue sweater I had bought him 2 Christmases ago. For a second I felt relief. He saw me. His face softened. There's my girl, he said. That sentence should have been enough. But then I looked at the table. Every chair was taken. Every place setting had a plate. A napkin. A water glass. A folded birthday menu Denise had printed at home. There was no empty seat. Not one. I stood with my gift in both hands, the ribbon pressed into my thumb. Denise moved past me and picked up a serving spoon. Oh, she said lightly, we had a little seating shuffle. Kevin leaned back in the chair beside my father. My chair. Not assigned. Not official. But mine in the quiet way family places become yours over decades. The chair to Dad's right. The one I had taken after Mom died because someone needed to sit close enough to notice when he stopped eating. Kevin looked up at me with a casual smile. Hey, Rachel. Hey. He did not move. My father glanced from me to the table. Then to Denise. Then back to me. It's temporary, he said. The word landed gently. That made it worse. Temporary. As if humiliation had a short expiration date. As if standing there with a birthday gift and no seat was a small logistical issue. No one argued. Aunt Linda looked down at her plate. Paul reached for his water. Shelby adjusted her bracelet. Denise said, you can sit at the breakfast bar for now. We'll move things around for cake. For now." I looked at my father. He looked uncomfortable. Not enough to stand. Not enough to fix it. Just enough to want the moment to pass. I smiled because everyone was watching. "Sure." I walked to the breakfast bar between the dining room and kitchen. A single stool sat there. No placemat. No silverware. No glass. Just a stack of mail pushed aside and a bowl of wrapped peppermints. I set my gift on the counter beside me. Denise brought over a plate. "Here you go." She had served it already. Pot roast. Carrots. Mashed potatoes. No roll. No knife. "Thank you," I said. My voice sounded calm. That was the part I hated most. How trained I was. How easily I could make injury sound like manners. From the dining table, Kevin began telling a story about taking Dad to the hardware store. Everyone laughed. Dad laughed too. He leaned toward Kevin as if Kevin had always known which screws fit the back porch railing. I ate from the side plate with a fork Denise handed me from the drawer. The stool wobbled slightly whenever I shifted. I balanced one foot on the lower bar and watched my family celebrate without making room for me. There was a time when I would have made excuses for them. The table was crowded. Denise was overwhelmed. Dad hated conflict. Kevin didn't know. But adulthood has a way of making excuses sound less like kindness and more like self-erasure. I looked at the printed birthday menu. Robert's 72nd birthday dinner. Under it in smaller font. Hosted with love by Denise and family. Denise and family. Not his children. Not all of us. A category wide enough to include Kevin. Flexible enough to leave me standing. My father caught my eye once. Only once. He lifted his eyebrows slightly as if to say, "You okay?" I nodded. He looked relieved. That relief hurt more than the missing seat. Because it meant he had asked for comfort without offering repair. After dinner, Denise clapped her hands softly. Gift time before cake. Everyone shifted toward the table. I stayed at the breakfast bar. My gift remained unopened beside my plate. Kevin handed Dad a large bag first. A new fishing jacket. Then Shelby gave him a framed photo from last summer's lake trip. A trip I had not known happened until I saw the picture online. Dad smiled at it carefully. "That's nice," he said. Denise placed a small black velvet box in front of him. "This one came earlier," she said, "no card." Something in her voice changed. Just slightly. Not concern. Performance. A little mystery added for the room. Dad frowned. "Came from who?" "No return address," Denise said. "Probably one of your old work friends." Kevin laughed. "Or a secret admirer." People chuckled. Dad opened the box. Then everything stopped. His smile disappeared. His shoulders dropped. Inside lay the silver tie clip. He picked it up with 2 fingers. Turned it over. The underside caught the light. I already knew what was engraved there. R.W. 1978. Robert Whittaker. The year before he married my mother. The tie clip had belonged to his older brother Thomas, who died before I was born. Dad wore it at his wedding. Then again at my high school graduation. Then at my mother's funeral. After that it vanished. He told me once he must have misplaced it. But my mother had known exactly where things went. And so had I. Dad looked up slowly. "Who sent this?" Silence. Denise's hand moved to her necklace. Kevin looked at the box, then at her. Aunt Linda's face had gone still. Not surprised. Worried. My father turned the tie clip over again. His thumb rubbed the scratch near the edge. Then he looked toward the breakfast bar. At me. For the first time that night, everyone else did too. I did not speak. I did not explain. I only looked back at him from the stool where they had put me. And in that quiet, the room finally saw the thing it had tried not to see. There had always been a place for me. Someone had simply moved it. I stayed on the stool because no one told me to move. That was the part that mattered. Not the chair. Not the plate. The absence of invitation. My father kept holding the tie clip like it might answer him if he turned it the right way. "Who sent this?" he asked again. His voice was quieter now. Less performative. More personal. Denise stepped in before anyone else could. "It's probably nothing," she said. "Someone cleaning out a drawer." She smiled at the table. Eat your cake before it melts. Cake doesn't melt. Everyone knew that. But the sentence worked the way it was meant to. A redirect. A soft hand on the wheel. Kevin laughed lightly. Yeah, let's not make it a mystery party. Aunt Linda reached for the cake knife. Plates were passed. Forks moved again. The room restarted itself. That was when I understood something clearly. This wasn't about pretending nothing had happened. This was about deciding what counted. And what didn't. My father set the tie clip back in the velvet box. Carefully. Like returning something to a place he didn't trust. He didn't ask again. That stayed with me. He asked twice. Then stopped. I watched Denise cut the cake. She worked with clean, precise movements. Equal slices, balanced portions. Everyone received a piece without needing to ask. Except me. She glanced toward the breakfast bar. Rachel, do you want some? Want. Not here's yours. Not I made sure. Just want. Yes, I said. She placed a slice on a small dessert plate and set it near me. No fork this time. I reached for one from the drawer myself. Kevin raised his glass. To Dad, he said. To 72 and still fixing things we break. People laughed. My father smiled. But it didn't reach his eyes. To family, Denise added. Everyone echoed it. To family. I tasted the cake. Chocolate. Too sweet? Or maybe I just wasn't. My father looked at me again. Longer this time. Then he looked at the empty space beside him. Where my chair should have been. He shifted slightly in his seat. Maybe we can... It's fine, I said. Too quickly. Too smoothly. He stopped. Relief again. That small familiar relief. I made things easy. Even now. Especially now. After cake, people stood. Chairs scraped. Plates were stacked. Denise directed cleanup like she always did. Kevin dishes. Shelby wrapped the leftovers. Paul, can you grab the trash? No one asked me to do anything. No one needed me. That was new. I rinsed my plate at the sink anyway. Habit is hard to turn off. Denise moved beside me. You didn't have to do that, she said. I know. She dried her hands on a towel. We just didn't expect such a full table. I looked at her. You set the table. She held my gaze. Only for a second. Then she smiled. We didn't think it would matter this much. There it was. Not apology. Assessment. I nodded slowly. It doesn't matter to you. She turned slightly. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. We stood in silence for a moment. Then she lowered her voice. It's just one dinner, Rachel. I dried my hands. It's not. She didn't respond. Because she knew. Or because she didn't want to. In the living room, Kevin was showing Dad how to use a new phone feature. Just swipe here, he said. Dad leaned in. Close. Interested. That used to be me. The one who sat beside him explaining how to update apps. How to reset passwords. How to fix things quietly so he wouldn't feel behind. Now Kevin filled that space easily. Naturally. Like he had always been there. I picked up my gift from the counter. Still wrapped. Still unopened. I carried it into the living room. Dad, I said. He looked up. Oh, right. He cleared his throat. Sorry, honey, bring it here. I stepped forward and handed it to him. Kevin shifted back just enough to make space. Not his full space. Just a little. Dad pulled at the ribbon. Carefully. He always opened gifts like they might break. Inside was a leather-bound notebook. Simple. Dark brown. His name embossed on the corner. Robert Whitaker. He ran his hand over it. That's nice, he said. He flipped it open. Blank pages. A pen clipped inside. For your notes, I said. Or your stories. He smiled. That's thoughtful. He closed it. Set it beside him. Not ignored. Not embraced. Placed. Denise stepped in. That's perfect for his doctor appointments, she said. Practical. Always practical. Dad nodded. Yes, good idea. I watched the notebook sit on the coffee table. Unused. Like a suggestion waiting for permission. Who sent the box? Kevin asked suddenly. He leaned back. more curious now that the moment had passed. Dad looked at the velvet case again. I don't know. Denise spoke before he could think further. It doesn't matter. Kevin shrugged. Kind of weird. Lots of things are, she replied. End of topic. But not for me. I had seen the engraving. I knew the history. And I knew one more thing. That tie clip had been in my father's bedroom drawer the last time I visited 6 months ago. I had seen it. He had shown it to me. Told me the story again. His brother. The wedding. The funeral. He hadn't lost it. He hadn't misplaced it. It had been moved. And now it had returned. Without explanation. Without permission. That wasn't random. That was intentional. A message. But to whom? I looked around the room. At Denise. At Kevin. At my father. At the people who had decided where I sat. And where I didn't. Someone here knew more than they were saying. Maybe more than they wanted to know. I set my empty plate down. I'm going to head out, I said. My father looked up quickly. So soon? Yes. He stood. That surprised me. He didn't always stand when I left anymore. I'll walk you out, he said. Denise stayed where she was. Kevin picked up his phone. No one objected. In the hallway the light was softer. Quieter. My father held the notebook in one hand. The velvet box in the other. He looked at both. Then at me. Did you send this? He asked. His voice was careful. Not accusing. Not trusting. I met his eyes. Number. He searched my face. For what I wasn't sure. Then he nodded slowly. Okay. Okay. Not relief. Not doubt. Just acceptance. I'm sorry about the table, he added. There it was. Finally. I waited. For what I asked. He hesitated. For the confusion. Confusion. I almost smiled. But I didn't. It wasn't confusing, I said. He looked at me. Really looked. Then something shifted. Small, but real. I should have made room, he said. Yes. We stood there. Two people who knew exactly what had happened. And how easily it had been allowed. He reached out and touched my arm. Lightly. Next time, he said. I nodded. There won't be a next time like that. He seemed to hear more than the words. Good. I opened the door. The night air felt cooler now. Clearer. As I stepped onto the porch, he called my name. Rachel. I turned. He held up the velvet box. Do you remember this? He asked. I looked at it. Then back at him. Yes. He swallowed. I thought I lost it. I know. We held each other's gaze for a second longer than usual. Then I said the one thing that changed everything. You didn't lose it. He didn't ask what I meant. Not yet. But he understood enough to stop smiling. I walked to my car. Sat inside. Closed the door. And for the first time that night, I didn't feel like I had been left out. I felt like I had just seen something no one else was ready to face. I didn't drive away right away. I sat with the engine off and watched the porch light burn a steady circle on the siding. Through the window, I could see silhouettes moving in the living room. Kevin's broad shoulders. Denise's careful posture. My father smaller than both, holding something in his hands. The black velvet box. I knew what was inside. But that wasn't what kept me there. It was the question. Who sent it? And why now? My phone buzzed on the passenger seat. A text from Kevin. You left quick. Everything okay? I stared at it. Then set the phone face down. He had never texted me after family dinners before. That mattered. I turned the key. The engine came to life. I pulled away slowly, not because I was unsure, but because I didn't need to rush back into a life that suddenly felt rearranged. At a stop sign, I glanced in the rearview mirror. The house was still visible. Warm. Full. Complete. As if nothing had shifted. But I knew better. At home, I placed my keys in the same ceramic bowl by the door. Kicked off my shoes. Set my purse on the chair I always used. Routine creates a sense of control. Even when the rest of your life is being quietly edited. I poured a glass of water. Drank half. Then stood at the counter thinking about the tie clip. The scratch on the edge. The engraving. RW 1978. I had seen it last in my father's top drawer. Right side. Beneath a stack of folded handkerchiefs he no longer used. 6 months ago. I had been looking for a charger. He had opened the drawer. Pulled the tie clip out. Turned it over. Told me the story again. His brother. The wedding. The funeral. Then he placed it back. Carefully. Exactly where it belonged. He didn't forget. He didn't lose it. Which meant someone had taken it. And someone had decided to return it. But not quietly. Not privately. Publicly. At the center of the table. In a velvet box. During his birthday dinner. That wasn't a mistake. That was timing. My phone buzzed again. This time it was my father. I let it ring once. Twice. Then I answered. Hi. His voice came through softer than usual. Sue Rachel. He corrected himself. I didn't comment. Did you get home okay? Yes. A pause. I've been thinking about that box. I figured. He exhaled slowly. I went upstairs. My grip tightened slightly on the glass. And the drawer was empty. Of course it was. It wasn't 6 months ago, I said. He didn't respond immediately. That's what you meant earlier, he said. You didn't lose it. Number. Silence. Heavy now. Working. Denise says she's never seen it before, he added. I leaned against the counter. Did you believe her? Another pause. Longer. I don't know. That was honest. More honest than anything he had said at the table. Who else goes in your room, I asked. Not many people. Kevin. Sometimes. Shelby. Rarely. And Denise. He didn't answer. He didn't need to. She organizes things, he said finally. Closets, drawers, papers. I closed my eyes for a moment. Did you ask her about the tie clip before tonight? Number. Did she ever mention it missing? Number. I let the silence sit. Then I said that means she knew it was gone. He inhaled sharply. You don't know that. No, I said, but you do. He didn't respond. Instead, he asked, do you think someone's trying to tell me something? I considered the question. Not quickly. Carefully. Yes. Who? I don't know. That was true. But there were only so many people who knew enough. And cared enough. Or were angry enough. I don't like this, he said. I know. It feels off. It is. He sighed. I should have handled dinner better. I waited. He added, you should have had a seat. There it was again. A better version of the truth. Not enough. But closer. Yes, I said. I'm sorry. I know. We sat in that for a moment. Then he said Kevin asked about the box after you left. What did you tell him? That I didn't know who sent it. And Denise? She said it didn't matter. Of course she did. Does it matter to you, I asked. Yes. His answer was immediate. That mattered. Then you need to find out, I said. How? Start with who benefits from you not asking questions. He went quiet. I could almost hear the shift in his thinking. Slow. Uncomfortable. Necessary. That sounds like you already have someone in mind, he said. I have a pattern in mind. He didn't push further. That surprised me. I'm going to look around more tomorrow, he said. Okay. And Rachel? Yes. Don't let tonight sit like that. Like what? Like you didn't belong. I smiled slightly. Not because it comforted me. Because it showed me where he still was. I didn't need tonight to tell me that I said. He didn't answer. Good night, I added. Good night. After we hung up, I stood in the quiet of my kitchen and let the truth settle into something solid. This wasn't about a tie clip. It wasn't even about the dinner. It was about something slower. More deliberate. Who got placed at the center? Who got moved to the edge? And who was expected to accept it without naming it? The next morning I woke earlier than usual. Not anxious. Alert. I made coffee. Sat at the table. Opened my laptop. Not for work. For memory. I searched old photos. Family gatherings. Birthdays. Holidays. In almost every one I was sitting to my father's right. Not because I claimed it. Because it was understood. Then about a year ago the photos shifted. Kevin closer. Denise leaning in. Me further back. Still there. But not central. A slow change. Easy to miss. Easy to explain. Until it wasn't. My phone buzzed again. Kevin. This time I answered. Hey. His voice sounded different. Less casual. Can I ask you something? Go ahead. That tie clip, you've seen it before, right? Yes. A pause. Dad told me he lost it years ago. I know. He showed it to me last month. I sat up straighter. Last month? Yeah, said he found it in a drawer. Which drawer? His bedroom, top right. The same one. Did Denise know I asked? I don't know. What happened after he showed it to you? Kevin hesitated, then said she walked in. I didn't interrupt. She asked what we were looking at, he continued. Dad told her. And, she said, I thought that was gone. My chest tightened slightly. What did Dad say? He said, I found it. And then, Kevin exhaled. She laughed, said, well, things have a way of showing up when they want to. I closed my eyes. That wasn't random. That was positioning. Did you ever see it again after that, I asked. Number. And now it shows up in a velvet box at his birthday dinner. Yeah. We both sat in that. The same realization forming on two different ends of the line. Do you think she took it? He asked quietly. I think someone wanted your dad to feel something yesterday, I said. What? Uncertain. He didn't respond. That tie clip doesn't matter because of what it is, I continued. It matters because of when it appeared. And who noticed. Yes. Kevin went quiet again. Longer this time. Then he said something that shifted everything. I didn't realize you didn't have a seat until you were already standing. I didn't answer. I mean, I saw it, he added quickly. But I thought you'd just grab a chair. I didn't. I know. His voice lowered. And then it felt too late to say anything. Too late. That word again. People love that word. It excuses everything after the moment passes. It wasn't too late, I said. It was uncomfortable. He didn't argue. That's fair, he said. Fair. I almost smiled. We were learning new words now. Words that didn't hide as much. I didn't think about what it looked like, he added. No, I said, you didn't. Another pause. I'm thinking about it now. I believed him. That was the complicated part. Kevin wasn't cruel. He was comfortable. And comfort is one of the quietest ways people hurt each other. I have to go, I said. Okay. Kevin? Yeah. Next time notice sooner. He let out a breath. I will. We hung up. I sat at my table with my coffee and the weight of something becoming clear. The tie clip had returned for a reason. Not to accuse. Not to expose. But to disrupt. To create a moment where the room could no longer pretend everything was balanced. And it had worked. Because now people were asking questions. Not loudly. Not dramatically. But enough. And sometimes enough is where change begins. The disruption didn't look dramatic from the outside. It looked like a quiet house on a Saturday morning. But inside something had shifted. My father called me at 8:12. Earlier than usual? He didn't wait for a greeting. I went through everything he said. His voice sounded different. Not weak. Not uncertain. Focused. What did you find, I asked? Nothing missing. I leaned against the kitchen counter. That's not possible. I know. Silence. Then he added, except one thing. I didn't ask. I let him say it. The envelope it came in. The room around me seemed to narrow slightly. What kind of envelope? Plain, white, no return address. Where is it now? That's the problem. He paused. It's gone. Of course it was. When did you last see it, I asked. After dinner, I left it on the sideboard. Who was still in the house? Everyone. He didn't need to list names. We both knew them. Did you ask, I said. Yes. And no one remembers touching it. I almost smiled. That word again. Remembers. Memory is the safest place to hide intention. I'm coming over, I said. No, he replied quickly. I stopped. Why not? I don't want another scene. Scene. That was how he saw it. Not a shift. Not a pattern. A moment. Something to be managed. I'm not coming for a scene, I said. I'm coming because something in your house doesn't add up. He hesitated. Then softer, I need to handle this. Handle. Like Denise handled dinner. Like Kevin handled conversation. Like I used to handle everything quietly so no one had to feel uncomfortable. I'll wait, I said. That surprised him. You will? Yes. Another pause. I'll call you later. Okay. When we hung up, I didn't move right away. Waiting was not something I was used to doing by choice. But this was different. This wasn't me stepping back out of politeness. This was me stepping back out of clarity. If my father was going to see something, he had to see it without me translating it for him. Around noon, my phone buzzed. A message from Denise. We should all get together and clear the air. I stared at it. Clear the air. Another phrase that meant let's reset without naming anything. I didn't reply. 5 minutes later, Kevin called. Hey, he said. Hey. You got Denise's message? Yes. Are you going? Number. A pause. Why not? Because nothing's clear yet. He exhaled. Dad asked me to come by this afternoon. Okay. I think he's trying to figure out what happened with the envelope. Good. Another silence. I keep thinking about last night, Kevin said. Which part? The seat. I waited. I should have moved, he added. Yes. I didn't think it mattered that much. I know. I'm starting to see that it did. I leaned back in my chair. Not because of the chair, I said. Because of what it meant. Yeah. He sounded tired. Denise said you're overreacting, he added. Of course she did. And what do you think I asked? He didn't answer immediately. I think something's off, he said. That's not the same thing. I know. Silence again. I'll call you after I talk to Dad, he said. Okay. When the call ended, I sat there with a strange sense of distance. Not cold. Not detached. Just outside. For the first time, I wasn't inside the family system trying to stabilize it. I was watching it. That changed everything. At 3:27, Kevin called back. This time his voice was sharper. Rachel. What happened? I asked Dad about the envelope. And he said he put it in the kitchen drawer. The same drawer. Yes. And now it's gone. Yeah. What did Denise say? That she never saw it. And you? I didn't touch it. I believed him. What about Shelby, I asked. She left early. Before or after the envelope disappeared? Before. I stood up and walked to the window. The street outside looked exactly the same. Nothing about this felt visible. Kevin, I said, did Dad open the box in the dining room? Yes. In front of everyone? Yes. And Denise handed it to him? Yeah. Then she knew about it before he opened it. Kevin went quiet. I could hear it land. I didn't think about that, he said. That's the point, I replied. She thinks about everything. He exhaled slowly. I asked her why she didn't mention it earlier. And she said she didn't want to make a big deal out of nothing. Nothing. The tie clip. The envelope. The missing seat. All nothing. I don't buy it, Kevin added. Good. Another pause. Dad's upstairs, he said. He's going through old papers. Let him. You really think this is about more than the tie clip? Yes. What then? I looked at my reflection in the window. For a long time, things have been moved quietly, I said. Positions, roles, who speaks, who doesn't. And now something came back. He didn't interrupt. And it didn't fit the version everyone's been living in. Kevin was silent for several seconds. Then he said, Denise is angry. At what? At you. I nodded. That makes sense. Why? Because I didn't pretend it was nothing. He let that sit. She said you're trying to turn Dad against her. I'm not. I know. Another silence. She also said the tie clip doesn't prove anything. She's right. Kevin hesitated. Then what does... I took a breath. The way people react to it. He didn't respond. Because he understood. At 6:10, my father called again. I answered immediately. Rachel. His voice was heavier now. What did you find? I asked. I found the receipt. My heart slowed. For what? The tie clip repair. I frowned. Repair. Yes. From when? 3 weeks ago. I stood still. You had it repaired. I didn't. The words settled into something solid. Where was the receipt? I asked. In my desk. The same desk where the tie clip used to be. Yes. I closed my eyes. Who took it to be repaired? I don't know. We both knew what that meant. You didn't lose it, I said again. Number. You didn't forget it. Number. Silence. Then he said something that shifted the entire ground. I think I've been edited. I opened my eyes. That's a good word, I said. I didn't see it happening, he added. I know. I thought things were just easier. They were, I said. For someone. He exhaled slowly. I need to talk to Denise. Yes. And I need you there. I didn't answer right away. Not because I was unsure. Because I needed him to hear what I would say next. Number. He paused. No. You need to talk to her without me. Why? Because if I'm there, she'll talk around me. He was quiet. And if I'm not, she'll have to talk to you. A long silence. Then quietly, you're right. That mattered. More than the apology. More than the seat. He was starting to see. I'll call you after, he said. Okay. When the line went dead, I stood in my kitchen and let the truth settle fully. The tie clip had not just returned. It had been prepared, repaired, placed, delivered. And then the envelope had been removed. The evidence of how it got there. Someone had planned this. Carefully. Quietly. And now the question wasn't just who sent it. It was who needed it to be seen. The house sounded different after the call ended. Not louder. Clearer. When something stops pretending, even the quiet changes. I rinsed my coffee cup and set it upside down on the rack. Small motions. Grounding. I did not text my father. I did not text Kevin. I let the afternoon pass without inserting myself into whatever conversation was happening in that house. At 7:18, my phone buzzed. Kevin. I answered. He didn't say hello. She admitted it. I leaned against the counter. Say that again. Denise, he said. She admitted she took the tie clip. My hand tightened around the edge of the counter. How? Dad showed her the receipt. And she said she didn't want it sitting in a drawer collecting dust. I closed my eyes for a second. That's not admission, I said. That's justification. I know. What about the envelope? A pause. She said she threw it away. Why? She said it didn't matter where it came from. Of course she did. That's consistent, I said. With what? With deciding what counts. Kevin exhaled. It got worse. I waited. Dad asked her why she didn't tell him. And she said she didn't think it would upset him. I almost smiled. That's not why. I know. What's the real reason? He didn't answer right away. Then quietly, because she wanted to control when it came back. Yes. Exactly. Timing is power. Dad asked her who sent it, Kevin continued. And she said she ordered the repair and had it delivered. I straightened. She sent it to the house. Yeah. In a velvet box. Yeah. During his birthday dinner. Yes. The pattern locked into place. Not random. Not emotional. Strategic. She wanted to create a moment, I said. Kevin didn't respond. She wanted him to feel something in front of everyone, I added. Like what? Uncertain. He was quiet. I thought she was just trying to do something nice, he said. Number. This wasn't nice. Number. We both sat in that truth. Then Kevin said Dad's not okay. What do you mean? He's in the den. He hasn't come out in an hour. Is Denise still there? Yes. What is she doing? Cleaning the kitchen. Of course she was. Restoring order. Rewriting the scene. Kevin, I said, don't argue with her. I'm not. Just watch. He exhaled. That's harder than it sounds. I know. We ended the call without saying goodbye. I stood in my kitchen looking at nothing. Denise had taken the tie clip. Had it repaired. Had it returned. at the exact moment when the room was watching, and removed the envelope, so no one could trace it. That wasn't kindness. That was authorship. She wrote the moment, directed the reaction, then erased the evidence. And all of it happened in a house where I wasn't given a seat. The connection was not loud, but it was there. Who gets seen? Who gets managed? Who gets placed? At 8:02, my father called. I answered immediately. Rachel. His voice sounded tired. Not physically. Emotionally. I said. He didn't ask how. Then you know. Yes. Silence. Then he said I didn't ask for that. I know. I didn't even know it was gone. I know. He exhaled. I thought she was helping. I leaned against the counter again. She was, I said. He paused. That doesn't sound like agreement. It's not. He waited. She was helping a version of you, I continued. What version? The one that doesn't notice what's missing. He didn't answer. Because he couldn't. I didn't see it, he said finally. I know. I thought things were just easier. They were. Another pause. For her, he asked. Yes. Silence settled. Then he said something softer. I didn't like how she handled dinner. That was new. Not denial. Not smoothing. Naming. That matters, I said. I should have fixed the seat, he added. Yes. I should have said something. Yes. Each word landed. Not harsh. Not forgiving. Accurate. I didn't want to embarrass anyone, he said. I nodded. You embarrassed someone anyway. He exhaled. I know. We sat in that truth together. Not fighting it. Not softening it. Just letting it be what it was. I told her she needs to stop making decisions like that, he said. And she said she was just trying to keep things running smoothly. I almost smiled. That's her pattern. I see that now. Good. That was the shift. Not dramatic. Not loud. But real. I asked her about the envelope, he added. And she said she threw it out because it didn't matter. And what did you say? I said it mattered to me. I closed my eyes. That mattered. More than anything else. He was starting to define what mattered. For himself. I don't want you standing in my house without a place, he said. I didn't answer right away. Because I needed to choose my words carefully. Not out of fear. Out of clarity. I won't, I said. He paused. Won't what? I won't stand there again. Silence. Not confusion. Understanding. That's fair, he said quietly. We stayed on the line for a moment. Neither of us rushing to end it. Neither of us trying to fix everything. I don't want to lose you, he said. I nodded. You won't. His breath steadied slightly. But it's going to look different, I added. I know. I wasn't sure he did. But he heard me. That was enough. We ended the call. I set my phone down and walked into the living room. The chair by the window sat where it always did. Simple. Unremarkable. Mine. I sat down. Not because I needed a place. Because I chose one. The next morning, Denise texted again. We should talk, all of us. I read it once. Then again. Then I replied. No. Nothing more. No explanation. No softening. No invitation. Just a boundary. At noon, Kevin called. She's upset, he said. I'm sure. She thinks you're shutting her out. I am. A pause. That's new. Yes. He let out a small breath. I get it. That mattered. I didn't before, he added. I know. We sat in that. Not awkward. Just honest. Dad asked me to move my seat next time, he said. I smiled slightly. What did you say? I said I would have moved it this time if I'd understood. Yes. I understand now. Good. Understanding changes behavior. Or it doesn't. Time would tell. After we hung up, I stood in my living room and looked around. Nothing had changed. Everything had. The seat at that table had never been about wood and cushions. It was about placement, recognition, presence, and for the first time I wasn't trying to get it back. I was deciding where I belonged instead. The first time I declined a family invitation, no one knew what to do with it. Denise had sent the message on Thursday afternoon. "Dinner Sunday. Your dad wants everyone together. We need to move forward." I read it while standing in the school parking lot holding a canvas tote full of graded essays. The phrase sat there. Move forward. In families, people often say that when they want to skip the part where anyone looks back honestly. I did not answer right away. That alone felt like a decision. For most of my adult life, I had responded quickly. Yes, I'll bring salad. Yes, I can drive Dad. Yes, I'll help clean up. Yes, I understand. Yes, it's fine. Those words had made me dependable. They had also made me easy to place wherever there was leftover room. I sat in my car and typed one sentence. I won't be there Sunday. No apology. No reason. No softened ending. I stared at it for almost a full minute. Then I sent it. My phone buzzed 3 minutes later. Denise. Your father will be disappointed. I looked at the screen and felt something old rise in me. Not guilt exactly. A reflex. The part of me trained to rush toward discomfort and carry it for everyone else. I placed the phone face down on the passenger seat. Then I drove home. That evening Kevin called. I was in the kitchen chopping onions for soup. The knife moved steadily. Small white pieces gathered on the cutting board. Denise said you're not coming Sunday, he said. She's right. A pause. Dad was quiet when she told him. I set the knife down. Did he ask why? Not at first. And then, he said maybe he should ask you himself. That mattered. More than he knew. What did Denise say? Kevin exhaled softly. She said you were making things difficult. I almost smiled. Difficult. Another word families use when someone stops being convenient. And what did you say? A longer pause. I said maybe we made it difficult first. I looked at the onion pieces on the board. That's new. Yeah. His voice held a tired honesty. It didn't go over great. I'm sure. He shifted on the line. I also told her I don't want to sit in your spot anymore. I did smile then. Not because it fixed anything. Because he named it correctly. My spot, I said. I should have called it that before. Yes. I'm trying. I know. We stayed quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Can I ask you something?" Go ahead. Were you always the one taking care of him after your mom died? I looked toward the living room. A photo of my mother sat on the side table. Not framed formally. Just tucked into a small wooden frame I bought at a craft fair. Yes, I said. Mostly. I didn't know. You were 22, newly married, across town, busy. That doesn't mean I couldn't have known. No, it didn't. But I appreciated that he said it. After we hung up, I finished making soup. I ate alone at the small table by the window. Not sadly. Just quietly. There is a difference. On Saturday morning, my father called. Not Denise. Not Kevin. My father. Rachel, he said. Hi, Dad. I heard you're not coming tomorrow. Yes. He cleared his throat. Can I ask why? I looked out the window. A neighbor was pulling weeds near the sidewalk. The world always continues during important conversations. Because I don't want to sit in a room where the goal is to move forward before anyone tells the truth. He was silent. Not offended. Thinking. What truth, he asked. I could have listed everything. The missing seat. The tie clip. The envelope. Denise deciding what mattered. Kevin receiving space that was never offered to me. But lists can become walls. So I chose the center. That I was treated like an afterthought in my own father's house. His breath changed. I know. Those 2 words were small. But they did not dodge. I'm sorry, he said. I know. I want to do better. Then don't ask me to come back just so everyone feels better. He did not answer immediately. When he did, his voice was quiet. That's fair. Fair. This time it did not sound like defeat. It sounded like understanding beginning to form. I'd like to see you, he said. Not Sunday dinner. No, just us. I paused. My place, Tuesday after work? Okay. He did not ask whether Denise could come. That mattered too. After the call, I stood in my kitchen for a while. No music. No television. Just the hum of the refrigerator. I realized I was waiting for guilt to arrive. It didn't. Or maybe it did but found nowhere to sit. Sunday came. At 6, I was not at my father's dining table. I was in my living room grading essays with my slippers on and a cup of tea beside me. My phone stayed quiet for almost an hour. Then a message came from Kevin. "Dinner is weird without you." I stared at it. Then replied, "Maybe it was weird with me too, you just didn't notice." He answered after a minute. "I notice now." I set the phone down. That was enough. Tuesday evening, my father arrived at my townhouse carrying a paper bag from the diner near the post office. Turkey club. Fries. 2 slices of apple pie. A peace offering in takeout containers. He stood on the porch until I opened the door. He did not try the knob. That small restraint moved me more than I expected. "I brought dinner," he said. "I see that." "I wasn't sure if you'd eaten." "I haven't." We sat at my kitchen table. My table. No one assigned seats. No one hovered. No one explained the seating plan. He placed the black velvet box beside the bag. I looked at it. He noticed. "I didn't bring it to make you talk about it," he said. "Then why?" He touched the edge of the box. "Because I don't want it hidden again." I nodded slowly. That was the first right thing anyone had done with it. We ate quietly for a while. Then he said, "Denise is angry." "I know. She feels judged. Maybe she is being seen." He looked down at his plate. "That's different." "Yes." He picked up a fry. "Put it down again." I let her run things because I was tired. I waited. "After your mother died, the house felt too big," he said. "Then Denise came in and made it function again." "I understand that." "I know you do." He looked at me. "That's part of the problem." I held his gaze. "You knew I would understand." "Yes." The admission hurt. But cleanly. Like removing a splinter. "I leaned on your understanding," he said, "instead of protecting your place." I didn't respond right away. Those were the words I had needed. Not perfect. Not complete. But true. He opened the velvet box. The tie clip caught the kitchen light. He turned it slightly. "I'm wearing this to church Sunday," he said. I almost smiled. "Denise won't like that." "Number. Are you doing it to make a point?" He shook his head. "I'm doing it because it's mine." That was different. Better. He closed the box. Then looked toward the living room where the photo of my mother sat. "Your mom would have noticed the chair." "Yes," I said. "She would have moved it before anyone sat down." We both smiled faintly. Not happily. Honestly. When he left, he hugged me at the door. Not quickly. Not theatrically. A real hug. The kind that admits distance without pretending it never happened. After he drove away, I stood in the doorway for a moment. Then I walked back inside and sat at my kitchen table. Not because anyone gave me a place. Because I had chosen where the conversation could happen. That was the difference. For years I had thought belonging meant being included. Now I understood something quieter. Sometimes belonging starts when you stop accepting any place that requires you to shrink. The next time I saw my father's dining room, I didn't walk in first. I waited on the porch and listened. Not for words. For tone. Voices move differently when people know they are being heard. Inside, I could hear dishes being set down. Not rushed. Not quiet. Measured. My father opened the door before I knocked. He looked at me directly. No hesitation. "Hi, Rachel." "Hi." He stepped back and held the door. An invitation. Not assumed. Not automatic. Clear. That mattered. I walked in. The house looked the same. The same lemon polish. The same framed photos. The same clock ticking above the hallway table. But the feeling had shifted. Not warm. Not cold. Honest. Denise stood in the kitchen. She didn't come forward. She didn't perform a greeting. She nodded once. "Rachel." "Denise." Kevin was setting plates. He paused when he saw me. Then he moved one place setting. Not dramatically. Not announced. Just moved it. From the far end. To my father's right. My chair. He didn't look at me when he did it. He didn't need to. I saw it. That was enough. We sat down. No one commented on the arrangement. No one explained. The absence of explanation felt new. And right. Dinner began quietly. Conversation stayed small. Work. Weather. A neighbor's new fence. Denise spoke less than usual. When she did, she didn't fill the space. She offered. Then stopped. That was new too. At one point, my father reached for the salt. His hand brushed mine. He didn't pull away quickly. He let it stay for a second. Then he said, "Sorry." I shook my head. It's okay. The contact lingered in a way words couldn't. Kevin told a short story about work. No one laughed too loudly. No one needed to. The room held itself differently now. Not fragile. Just aware. Halfway through the meal, my father stood. Not suddenly. Not for effect. He just stood. "I want to say something," he said. No one interrupted. No one rushed to soften it. "I didn't handle Rachel's birthday dinner well," he continued. He looked at me. Not past me. At me. "I didn't make room," he said. I didn't notice what that meant. Denise shifted in her seat. But she didn't speak. "I let things be arranged around me," he added. "And I called that easier." He paused. That wasn't fair. The word landed. Not as defense, as ownership. "I'm not going to do that again," he said. No applause. No reassurance. Just silence. The kind that holds a truth steady. He sat down. Dinner resumed. Not like nothing happened. Like something had. After we finished eating, Denise began clearing plates. I stood to help. Out of habit. She looked at me. "You don't have to," she said. "I know." We stood at the sink together. Water running. Plates stacked. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she said quietly, "I didn't think about how it would look." I rinsed a plate. "It wasn't about how it looked." She nodded. "I know that now." That was not an apology. But it was closer than anything she had offered before. "I was trying to keep things smooth," she added. I dried my hands. Smooth for who? She didn't answer. She didn't deflect either. She just stood there. That was different. In the living room, Kevin and my father were looking at the old photo album. The one with plastic sleeves and handwritten captions. I walked in quietly. My father held up a picture. Me at 16. Standing beside him at a school event. My hand on his arm. His posture straight. Proud. "You used to sit right there," he said. I looked at the photo. Then at him. Yes. He closed the album gently. I forgot what that meant. I know. We sat down on opposite sides of the coffee table. The velvet box sat in the center. He noticed me looking at it. "I've been thinking about this," he said. And it wasn't just about the clip. Number. It was about what I let go without noticing. Yes. He nodded slowly. I don't want to do that again. I believed him. Not because he said it. Because he had already started. Kevin sat back. "I moved your seat before you came," he said. I saw. "I should have done it before." Yes. He nodded. I didn't want it to be awkward. It already was. He smiled slightly. Yeah. Denise joined us. She sat down across from me. Not at the head. Not beside my father. Across. Facing. "I don't want to manage things like that anymore," she said. I met her eyes. "Then don't." She nodded. "I'm trying." I believe that too. Not completely. But enough to let it stand. We didn't stay late. No one forced conversation. No one extended the night beyond what it could hold. When I stood to leave, my father walked me to the door. Just like before. But not the same. "Thank you for coming," he said. I wanted to. That was new. He opened the door. The night air was cool. Clear. Before I stepped out, he said, "You'll always have a place here." I paused. Then I answered carefully. "I know." And this time I did. Not because he said it. Because I no longer needed him to. I walked to my car. Sat inside. Looked back at the house. The light in the dining room glowed softly. Nothing dramatic had changed. No big apology. No perfect resolution. Just small corrections. Honest ones. And sometimes that's what real repair looks like. If you've ever stood in a room where no one made space for you, If you've ever been told something was temporary while it quietly became permanent, if you've ever stayed silent just to keep things smooth, you don't have to keep doing that. You don't have to fight louder. You don't have to explain more. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is notice, then choose differently. Choose where you sit. Choose where you speak. Choose where you stay. Because your place in the world was never meant to be assigned by someone else. It was always yours to claim.